Hi Noel, can you just tell me what cars you've got on the stand this year?
Yes, certainly. Well, this is a Jowett Car Club stand. We've got two Javelins, one a barn find, one is partly restored. Then further down we've got a short two, which is a 1928, I believe, and then the Jupiter Sports at the end, which is a 1952. That's the red convertible. Now they are actually working on the silver Javelin at the moment. They're doing some welding work on it, and I think we're one of the few stands who are actually doing proper work with the cars. The two-tone green Javelin, that was found in a barn, literally been there for 50 years, and it's now been taken over as a staff car by Practical Classics, and they're restoring it over a period of time, and we're hoping they're going to put some articles in the magazine showing how they've done various jobs. So that's will be an ongoing project over the next year or two, I would have thought. So, but yeah, we've had a fantastic turnout of people here from the club as well, and very busy with people as well. So it's my first time here. It's the second show they've had, and it's my first one to have come to. So I wish I came to the first one as well now, but I've enjoyed it today. It's been good fun.
Well, I think the reason why you get so many people interested because they're actually doing things on the car.
Absolutely, yes. They're actually working on the car. They've been doing some welding work on this one here, and the green one they're doing the brake system on it at the moment. They're putting new hydraulics on the braking system. So they've been working the whole weekend on that, and they are doing a proper job. It's not just for the cameras; they are actually working on the cars. So. I've been watching it myself because I don't know how to do the brakes. So,
and of course the Jowett Car Club is the oldest one-make club in the world, isn't it?
That's right. The Jowett Club was formed in 1923, and we are the oldest one-make club in the world. The Jowett brothers, that was William and Ben Jowett, they built the first car in 1906, a prototype which they ran until 1910, and then they went into production in 1910. They built 48 cars up to 1916, and then they stopped for the war effort. They built shells and various armaments during the First World War. Then they started car production again in 1920. And in the handbook, the early handbooks, you were expected to acknowledge another Jowett driver coming towards you. You were expected to salute as you went past. And I said they set up the first Jowett gathering was in 1922, but the actual club itself is 1923, which is actually older than Rolls-Royce, Bentley or anybody else. We were the first ones to have an owners club, and it's been on the go ever since. There's never been a gap without a club running.
So how did you get involved? How did you become a member?
Well, I joined the club in 1984. My father was an old car enthusiast, had a lot of cars, and I was brought up with him always changing his cars, and then I got the bug in, I would think about 1976, but I had two very small children, so it got shelved until about 1984. Then I got the bug again. I thought, well, if I don't do it now, I never will. So I bought a Jupiter to start off with, which I still have, and I wanted to own ideally a car that was built in Yorkshire. I was born in York, and I wanted to have a Yorkshire built car, and when I started reading up about Jowett's, this seemed so interesting in how they did things. I mean, the marketing, the pre-war adverts were wonderful. They used to have a whole page in the Autocar or Motor magazine every week. It was a floral border with some poetic license in it normally, extolling the virtues of Yorkshire and Yorkshire cricket and all the rest of it. And if they could take a swipe at Lancashire at the same time, they did do. And I used to read these and think, how the hell did they sell cars? But they certainly did. They were very popular. I mean, there were literally hundreds and hundreds of adverts. One of the books I did was on Jowett adverts, and it was only a small proportion of how many they did. So yes, reading up on the club, I wrote to a couple of other car clubs at the time, but the Jowett Club is renowned for being a very friendly club, which it was, and I used to get handwritten letters back from club officials when I was asking inane questions about various things, and I ended up buying the Jupiter, and then I made the mistake of going to the next exec meeting and volunteering to be press officer, which I've been doing for the last 30 years, but I thoroughly enjoy it. It really is a great fun for me to do that. And in many ways, joining the club's changed my life, because before that, I was a youngish chap. I used to go to work, come home at night, watch the telly, and that was that. But now I'm constantly doing something connected with Jowett, so it
keeps you busy.
Very busy, yeah, very busy and very enjoyable.
That's
so,
good, yeah.
And I meet a lot of interesting, nice people as well. So it's been very rewarding for me. Yeah.
I've done a few videos on the Jowett Jupiter racing, you know.
Oh yes, yes.
And one of the guys who raced it, I think it's Richard
Gain, yes, a light blue Jupiter.
That's right.
I had a trip of a lifetime. We went to the Le Mans Classic last year and saw Richard racing with another Jupiter. There's a dark green one as well, British Racing Green. But Richard's light blue one is extremely fast. And it did really well. We thoroughly enjoyed that. But Richard's very approachable as well. I mean, he's certainly been flying the Jowett flag for the last year or two with his racing exploit.
That's right, yeah. I mean, what he did say was that whereas like midgets and MGBs, an A-series engine, you can get a lot of the parts off the shelf.
Absolutely,
But with Jowett, they fell behind a lot because they didn't have these spare parts available.
I think he's done a lot of manufacturing parts himself for the engine of the Jupiter, because it is he's done a lot of modifications on the car to improve the performance. But as you say, it's not like buying an Austin or a Morris where you can just go into any old garage and just get the parts off the shelf.
That's right.
And it's very difficult to find people with a technical knowledge, with it being a flat 4 horizontally opposed engine. It's a lot of garages don't know how to work on them, so you need to be pretty well clued up yourself, really. So yes, he's done a really good job with his racing, and he's been at Alton Park, he's been at Goodwood, he's been all over the place with it. So and the club, for the last few years, we've laid on taxis, Jowett taxis at Goodwood.
Really?
And we take VIPs from the hotels into Goodwood.
Brilliant.
And that's been very great fun. Amy, who's working on the Javelin at the moment, she has a lovely Jupiter which won a Best in Show at the NEC a couple of years ago. She was taking Stirling Moss backwards and forwards last year, so yeah, we've had some high-profile people we've taken around.
So the show, the car at the end of the stand, the red
Jupiter,
one.
Yes.
Who does that belong to?
That belongs to Craig Ainge and his wife Glenys. They've had that since the 1980s. They literally found it inside. It was in somebody's front garden under a tarpaulin for a long, long time, literally 20 years or so. Craig bought it and restored it. It'd be 20 years ago he restored the car, but it is absolutely perfect still, and he does a lot of mileage in it as well.
Yeah.
But you see, the Jupiter, they entered Le Mans in 1950 with one Jupiter, and it won the class in 1951. Then in 52 they entered 3. 2 broke down, but 1 still won the class in 1951. And 1952 we went back with 3 lightweight Jupiters. They were sort of not the bodywork like that. They had motorcycle wings on it for lightness and so on. And they had 3 of those in, and they won the class again in 1952. But by that time Porsche were on the scene, and we were lucky in 52 because the Porsche broke down, and we just had to keep going basically. So I think Jowett realised they'd had the day then. But 3 years on the trot, they won the 1.5 litre class. So
and I've noticed here at the back we've got a photograph of the
the Bradford van. Yes, that's
how many did they make of those? Any idea?
They made about 45,000 Bradfords.
As many as that, really?
Yeah. Now, straight after the war, they needed something quick and easy to build, because they were working on the Javelin. Gerald Palmer designed the Javelin. They headhunted him from MG Riley in 1942 and enticed him to Jowett's to design the new post-war car, which was the Javelin. But it wasn't ready straight after the war. They were still working on it, so they revamped the pre-war van, put a new grille on it and called it the Bradford. And that was literally the stopgap model until the Javelin came out. But as it was, it was probably the Bradford was the most successful of the post-war models. They made 45,000 of them, and it was only the Bradford that made money for Jowett, but it is pre-war in every respect. It is a very primitive vehicle in comparison. It always amuses me they made the Bradford, the Javelin and the Jupiter all at the same time because they're so completely different. But the Bradford's great fun to drive. I mean, you don't have to be in a rush to go anywhere. I mean, I live in Whitby, and so we have steep hills all round us. Blue Bank springs to mind, which is a 1 in 4, and you're in bottom gear for a long time going up there, but you'll always get up. It's just that it is very slow, and it's very, well, I say it's very primitive in design, but it's an appeal all of its own because of that. It's got the flat twin engine, which they had in the first car, and that ran right the way from 1906 to 1953 when they went out of business. So it had an engine run period of 46 years, which was in the Guinness Book of Records for an awful long time for having the longest engine run. But I think it was overtaken by the 2CV, the Citroën 2CV later on. So that was our claim to fame for quite a few years. But I say it's not the case now because we were overtaken by the 2CV. But I'd say they're great fun to drive. There's one round the corner for restoration. I don't know whether you've seen it, but that needs a lot of work doing to it. But yeah, they're a very individualistic company, and they're just, with them being in Yorkshire, the only manufacturer outside of the Midlands, they did things their own way, and it's very different from other manufacturers, which is another reason why it appealed to me at the time.
Well, thank you very much for the interview, Noel. Thank you, and all the information. Thank you.
That's my pleasure.
Thank you.